Hello everyone, Mark here from Visual Pro Detailing. I wanted to do a short video to discuss what paint correction is. Now, there's several videos on my page where I actually show before and after, during, stuff like that, of paint correction, but I wanted to actually explain it a little bit more in depth, because a lot of people, when they think of the word paint correction, they don't know what that means. They know what the word to buff means or buffing means, but they don't know what the word paint correction means. Whenever we think of buffing a car, we often think of the big rotary polisher with the giant wool pad. Now, this is a necessary tool for some jobs. I use this mostly whenever I do like RVs, motorhomes, boats, and they have a really high oxidation level and it really needs a really heavy level of cut on the vehicle in order to remove the defects. So this is something that's also at times used on cars in the paint correction process. But this buffer or polisher, if you will, is a cutting tool. This is not designed for finishing down on a vehicle. This is something that's used when you have really bad defects, really heavy swirl marks, really deep tree branch like scratches all down the side of the vehicle, and you need a really heavy level of cut whenever you're doing a multi-stage paint correction. It's a very aggressive tool. This is something that only an expert should use, because the possibility of burning through paint and burning on corners and going through the clear coat or even damaging trim or staining trim is very high when you have a tool like this. So it's something that only a professional should use. But whenever I talk about paint correction, more often than not, I'm talking about using a dual action polisher that has a heavy throw. You can see how far it rotates out here. It doesn't just spin in a circle like a rotary polisher like I just showed you does, but it has a secondary action that highly refines and gives you great gloss in the paint, and it doesn't leave any sorts of holograms or buffer trails, what they're also called in the industry, behind. A paint correction service is a very time-consuming service. If I was just to take this dual action polisher on a small car, let's say for instance a BMW M3, which is a medium-sized sedan or coupe depending on which model it is, and I was going to do a one-stage paint correction on it, it would take me anywhere from 3 to 5 hours using a dual action polisher. Now, we have different modes of paint correction, different levels of paint correction. It's not all equal out there. So we have the one-stage paint correction. The one-stage paint correction is when a detailer is trying to remove as much of the defects, meaning the swirl marks, the scratches, the towel marks, all that is possible, and finish down the paint to a high gloss with no sorts of little micro marring or etching or anything like that, all in one step. Whenever a detailer does a one-stage paint correction, they can often, if they're really skilled at what they do, get anywhere from 70 to 90% defect removal on a vehicle that has moderate swirl marks, scratches, things like that. They can remove 70 to 90% of that in just a one-stage paint correction doing one step. Now, for a lot of daily driven vehicles, this is a pretty good result. It's going to give you a day and night difference, and it's going to make the vehicle look completely different before and after. But if you're really looking for a show car finish or a like new finish, that's when you're going to go into a two-step or a multi-step paint correction service. That's when we're going to start off with a heavy compounding step to remove as many of the defects as possible, or if you're going for a multi-stage correction and you're trying to get every single defect that can possibly be removed from the paint, you're going to do multiple steps of compounding before they step down to that polishing step to remove any hazing or micro marring that's left over after doing the compounding steps. Now, a really dedicated get your money's worth out of a professional detailer is also going to have a lot of smaller tools. I have a 3-inch polisher that is like the dual action polisher I just showed you. This is a little Rupees iBird Nano. This has 2-inch pads, and I can even put 1-inch pads on this polisher to get into all of the nooks and crannies that can be gotten into in a vehicle. Whenever we're talking about this level of paint correction, whenever the iBird gets broke out, that means that it is going to be a very time-consuming service. I've had paint correction jobs, many of them, where I put between 20 and 40 hours into polishing the paint. And you may say, well, that's insane. Why would it take so long? Well, if you look at it this way, if you have a vehicle, let's say it has heavy swirl marks, it's got all types of scratches in it from automatic car washes and driving through the tunnel washes, and maybe you bought it from a dealership or from a previous owner and they just didn't take care of it and it's faded and it doesn't look the way it should. It could cost you thousands and thousands of dollars to get a really good high quality paint job on that surface. And usually for a portion of that, a fraction of that, maybe anywhere from $500 to $1,250, even $1,500, you could get anywhere from a 1-stage to a multi-stage paint correction to make that paint look newer or like new, depending on what type of service you get. That's an amazing savings. You can save yourself thousands of dollars by having a professional detail correct the paint on your vehicle, then protect it, preferably with a ceramic coating or something that's going to last, rather than just taking it to the body shop and let them repaint it from scratch. So even though certain paint correction services are very time consuming, they can be rather expensive, they can still save you a lot of money compared to going to a body shop and having a full repaint job done. Because I've actually run into many of those over the years where someone paid to have a body shop repaint the vehicle, and then the body shop didn't do a good job finishing down the paint, and it still had to come to me so that I could finish down what the body shop did, because what did they grab? They grabbed this beast to polish down the vehicle after they had got done sanding it and everything, and it still had holograms and buffer trails that need to be removed. So if you're in doubt whether your vehicle needs paint correction or if it needs to be repainted, I suggest that you would try to find a qualified professional detailer. Let them give you a test spot. That's where they tape off a tiny section, inconspicuous somewhere on the vehicle, and they show you the difference. This is a 1-stage, this is a 2-stage, this is a multi-stage. This is what your paint can look like, this is what your paint does look like, and see if it'd be worth it to you to go to a professional detailer and have your paint corrected.